Ladies and gentlemen, I'm the one and only DJ Storms, and I would like to welcome each and every single one of you back here to the channel on YouTube.com, as of course you already know who I am, Mr. Controversy and the operator of the best damn Twitter handle known to mankind. This is the Lightning Flash update for August 9th, 2019, as we sit just one day away from TakeOver Toronto 2, and 2 days away from SummerSlam weekend 2019. SummerSlam very early this year, if you haven't already noticed. I have a lot to talk about here on the Lightning Flash update, but first things first, I want you guys to go and check out the rundown for NXT TakeOver Toronto 2, if you haven't already done so. Me and Chrissy, we broke down TakeOver Toronto to the best of our abilities, and I would also like to apologize because we apparently thought that the Breakout Tournament Finals were going to take place on TakeOver, but apparently they're taking place on the pre-show for NXT TakeOver instead of the actual main show, and the pre-show is actually going to be aired the following Wednesday on the WWE Network as an episode of NXT. I don't really like that. I really don't like that. But regardless, Triple H is keeping his normal 5-match format. I really wouldn't have minded a 6th match on TakeOver, and I don't think anyone would have. Most likely, the show's probably going to go to 3 hours and 30 minutes. Triple H, you know, is going to put his all into NXT TakeOver Toronto 2 to make it the show of the month. As for SummerSlam, well, you've heard the news of all of these matches getting scrapped, some matches not even taking place, and you can imagine that SummerSlam is looking more like Summer bland as mashed potatoes without butter and salt, as bland as oven-cooked chicken, as bland as the flavorless, dry saltine crackers that you dip in your chicken noodle soup when you got a stuffy nose, a scratchy throat, when you're coughing, you're sneezing, you know, that type of bland. Summer bland is the new name. But we're going to get right into the festivities here on the Lightning Flash update. Monday Night Raw, listen, Monday Night Raw, it had some good moments sprinkled in here and there. And I will say it had some good moments sprinkled in here and there, but at the end of the day, there was nothing special about it. There really wasn't. There was nothing special about Monday Night Raw. It was generic. It was the usual formulaic, generic Monday Night Raw that we've known for God knows how many years now. I will say that Monday Night Raw did start off really good with Samoa Joe going after the commentary team after WWE did the tribute to Harley Race and they hit the show intro. Samoa Joe was standing on top of the announce table and going after the commentary team because his name was accused, or he was a main suspect, for what happened to Roman last Tuesday on SmackDown with the scaffold and the production crate boxes falling on top of him. Michael Cole says there was a poll saying 80% of the WWE Universe voted that Roman Reigns' incident wasn't an accident. And Samoa Joe, once again channeling his inner DJ Storms, said 80% of the WWE Universe are idiots. Samoa Joe says that he was going to hold the show hostage until Roman Reigns gets there, and he's going to demand an apology from Roman Reigns himself. From that, we went into a tag team match, which made absolutely no sense, and this was WWE clickbaiting the entire audience, just like they clickbaited the audience with Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman's announcements as executive directors, and they clickbaited the audience by saying that Trish Stratus was going to be competing on Monday Night Raw just to try and get some viewers, when in reality, Stratus didn't even get in the match, and the match ended in a disqualification because Natalya wouldn't release the sharpshooter when Becky Lynch got to the ropes at the count of 5. And because of that, Natalya caused DQ, and Stratus and Natalya were disqualified. Flair and Lynch came out victorious. I actually like that. I like that little touch because Natalya is looking intense as ever. Trish Stratus and Charlotte didn't clash, and they didn't waste anything that they were going to do on Sunday. But I did have a problem with the fact that this tag team match made absolutely no sense, and it was a 10-minute waste of time. I don't understand what was WWE's reasoning for scheduling this tag team match, other than the fact that they wanted to gain some viewers because, you know, they said that Trish Stratus was going to be wrestling. I mean, at the end of the day, I can't really complain about the ending because Natalya did look very strong. Nobody was pinned. Nobody was beaten. Because realistically, none of the 4 women in the match could have taken a legitimate loss. Becky Lynch didn't lose. Becky Lynch didn't get pinned. She didn't submit. Charlotte walked off. And Charlotte and Stratus, they didn't cross paths. So I can't really complain about the ending. But at the end of the day, the tag team match was a 10-minute waste of time. From that, we went into Andrade Cien Almas versus Rey Mysterio. This was a very good match. I could watch these two wrestle all day long. I would take 3 hours of Andrade and Mysterio wrestling rather than the 3 hours of what we got on Monday Night Raw this week. This went about 13 minutes, and they poured everything into this match. We had Andrade going for a powerbomb on the top rope to Rey Mysterio, which Rey reversed into a Hurricane Rana. We had Andrade doing his signature back elbow. We had Rey and Andrade going back and forth. I believe Andrade got his knees up when Rey Mysterio went for the frog splash because Mysterio did connect with the 619, and then he went for the frog splash in tribute to Eddie Guerrero. Almost blocked it. Almost went for the hammerlock DDT, but Rey Mysterio rolled him up for a close 2 count. Andrade tried to do what he did last week and ripped the mask off of Rey Mysterio, but the referee was trying to hold Andrade back. Zelina Vega hit a stun gun to Rey Mysterio off of the middle rope. Andrade hit the hammerlock DDT, and Andrade defeats Rey Mysterio. Very good match. I've said it before with the Apollo Crews Nakamura match a couple weeks ago on SmackDown. This is what we need to see. We need to see matches like this because matches like this are only going to enhance the show and make it better. They really are. Good win for Andrade. I'm assuming that they're going to be building towards a hair versus mask match at some point. If I was to be a betting man, they could probably do it on Clash of Champions, which is September 15th, 2019. That is the next pay-per-view. Mike Kanellis and Maria were in the hospital. I believe Maria was going for her ultrasound. Mike Kanellis was trying to calm Maria down. The ref was dressed as a doctor, and Mike Kanellis won back the 24/7 title. Then R-Truth won it back when he dressed up as a grandma. He dressed up in drag, threw a baby at Mike Kanellis, and pinned Mike Kanellis to win back the 24/7 championship for what is it, like the 13th or 14th time? Again. Yeah, this is really what I want to see on a wrestling program. This is what Vince McMahon thinks of a wrestling program. A husband pinning his own wife during the ultrasound for her pregnant child, and then R-Truth dressing up in fucking drag like it's something out of Jack and Jill. Remember that movie from 2011, Jack and Jill with Adam Sandler? Adam Sandler dressing up in drag to play Jill? Same thing here with R-Truth. Tossing a fake baby that came from between his legs at Mike Kanellis and pinning him to win the 24/7 championship. I hope to God that, just like the wild card rule, the 24/7 championship is abolished. I really hope so. I really hope so. Universal Champion Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman addressed the crowd. Heyman was going on about how Seth Rollins has more balls than he does brains. Rollins ended up coming out limping with his ribs taped up and a steel chair. Rollins ended up getting beaten down and cut a horrendously bad promo afterwards. I don't know what WWE are trying to do. Apparently, there's been a rumor going around that WWE wants to make Seth Rollins cool again, and they're desperately trying to. I don't understand how this is going to make Seth Rollins sound cool. Seth Rollins sounds so fucking weak. You take a look at what happened to Seth Rollins in 2018, going into the Royal Rumble, and then after he won the Royal Rumble. You take a look at that and how he beat Brock Lesnar. He beat Brock Lesnar in 3 minutes at WrestleMania 35 to win the Universal Championship. You take a look at what happened then, and then you take a look at what happened now, and you're like, what the fuck happened? Part of it has to do with Seth Rollins and his own stupid comments. The other half has to do with WWE poorly booking Seth Rollins, putting him in a shitty feud with Baron Corbin, and pretty much rendering his Universal title reign absolutely worthless when Brock Lesnar cashed in at Extreme Rules to win back the Universal title. Seth Rollins going on about how this is all he has left, and he guarantees that he's going to beat Brock Lesnar. I swear to God, I hope that after he beats Brock Lesnar, I swear to God, I hope that either McIntyre or Ricochet takes the title off of Rollins before Survivor Series. I really hope so. Seth Rollins needs a complete reset. He needs a complete reset. Everything that they have done with Seth Rollins after WrestleMania, outside of that one matchup with AJ Styles at Money in the Bank, has been so fucking damaging to Seth Rollins as a whole. It really has. The mystique of Seth Rollins and the specialness and the intensity and the legitimacy of Seth Rollins is dead. It's like a distant memory. It's like something that never even existed. It's pathetic. We had the Street Profits cutting a promo with Kurt Angle, drinking to Kurt Angle, coming back again, toasting with milk. Drew McIntyre comes out. Obviously, Angle was supposed to be the special guest referee for McIntyre and Cedric. That match ended up never even happening. That didn't even get started when Alexander DDT'd McIntyre on the steel ramp. The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, came out and attacked Kurt Angle. Now, I will say this. This was another good part of the show. I am loving what they are doing with Bray Wyatt. I am loving what they are doing. They are doing everything right with Bray Wyatt, which is very, very shocking in itself, considering that before this Firefly Funhouse shit, they haven't done anything right with Bray Wyatt ever since the WWE Championship win inside of the Elimination Chamber. Bray Wyatt, taking out these legends, taking out just everyone, it just plays up into the Fiend's character, how the Fiend doesn't care. And Bray Wyatt ended up cutting a promo in his Mr. Rogers-like attire on SmackDown, I believe. And we'll talk about that when we get to SmackDown. The Viking Raiders once again defeated a bunch of jobbers, and I really don't understand what the fuck they are doing with the Viking Raiders. I genuinely think they don't know what to do with the Viking Raiders. They called them up, and they don't know what to fucking do with them. I don't understand why the Viking Raiders weren't in contention for the Raw Tag Team titles 2 months ago. I don't understand why the Viking Raiders are still facing enhancement talents, and they've been undefeated for 5 months, and you don't have them in any major storylines whatsoever. Now that we're talking about it, and I'm going to expand more about this on the rundown for SummerSlam, there are no tag team matches set for SummerSlam. None. I don't understand why Vince McMahon and the entire WWE main roster management as a whole is so against tag team wrestling. I talked about this on the rundown for TakeOver as well. You take a look at the Street Profits and the Undisputed Era, more likely than not, Triple H is going to go all out, no pun intended, to make sure that that match is going to be the best tag team match of the year. He's going to go all out to make sure that that match does whatever it can to outshine the Lucha Bros and the Young Bucks. The Lucha Bros and the Young Bucks could very well outdo their own match. Excuse me. Young Bucks and the Lucha Bros at Double or Nothing was the best tag team match of the entire year. They could very well outdo themselves at All Out in the ladder match that they have. There's 3 sets of tag team titles and none of them are on SummerSlam. The Viking Raiders, the New Day, the Bar. Hell, I don't think you can even count the Bar because they're not a tag team anymore. The Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane, and all these other tag teams. I could go on and on about these tag teams. I don't understand why WWE doesn't deem tag team wrestling as a main priority on Raw and SmackDown. They're going to have to. They're going to have to because at the end of the day, when AEW hits TNT with their show, AEW Revolution, on Wednesday nights, you know for a fact that tag team wrestling and that tournament is going to be a major focal point on the shows. You know for a fact that when that tournament starts, it's going to be some of the best fucking parts about All Elite Wrestling's weekly show. It's going to be some of the best fucking parts. You have the Dark Order and the Best Friends at All Out. And then you got the Lucha Bros and the Young Bucks at All Out as well. More likely than not, those 2 matches could end up being 2 of the best matches of the entire night. Right next to Omega and Moxley. I really don't know what else I can say as far as the tag team divisions go. They really need to step it up. They really need to step it up. I don't understand why people like the Viking Raiders and the Revival and the New Day, Heavy Machinery. Where the fuck is Heavy Machinery? They've been gone since Extreme Rules. Asuka and Kairi Sane, Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville have acted like the tag team titles didn't even exist up until now. I don't know what else I can say as far as that goes. And here's another thing. The OC attacked the New Day before their tag team match. Ricochet ended up making the save, and the OC defeated Ricochet and the New Day, with Xavier Woods, I believe it was, taking the pinfall. Listen, I love the OC. I love the OC. The OC having 3 championships on them. The Raw Tag Team titles and the United States Championship, as they should, being built up as a dominant faction, getting momentum behind them, getting wins behind them. I'm all for that. But at the expense of the New Day and Ricochet, when no one should be taking a loss, when you're going to have the New Day, who are the SmackDown Live Tag Team Champions, who have nothing going on for them right now, take a loss to the OC. Then you have Ricochet, who's going into a United States Championship match with AJ Styles. You're going to have Ricochet take a loss as well. Even though he wasn't pinned, he still took a loss. Again, I state, this year has to be the year where I have seen champions lose the most. There's no specialness, no uniqueness. I don't know what else I can say. You've heard me say the same fucking thing over and over again to a point where if it is not drilled in your head by now, there's something fucking wrong with you. Moving on from the 6-man tag, another generic, worthless 6-man tag, Samoa Joe ended up shutting down Raw. The crowd started to chant CM Punk. And to be quite honest with you, I don't blame them one bit. After the boring, generic, formulaic episode of Monday Night Raw that they had been given, I would have chanted CM Punk too. So Joe was notified by a production crew member that Roman Reigns apparently arrived at the scene. Roman Reigns apparently arrived in the parking lot. Joe went to greet him, and Roman Reigns' rental car was hit by another car, and we didn't see who was driving the car. So obviously, it was not Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe called for a medic, and apparently, they actually scrapped the match that was supposedly planned for SummerSlam between Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan. And Daniel Bryan was originally supposed to be the attacker, but apparently they wanted to continue the storyline. Obviously, Roman Reigns had an incident with Buddy Murphy, which I will talk about when we get to the SmackDown portion of the review. Fatal 4-Way for the women's tag team titles. Fatal 4-Way elimination match. Now, first of all, thank the Lord that the Iconics were the first ones eliminated, as they should have been. The Iconics should have never been given a tag team title match to begin with. And to be quite honest with you, they should have never even gotten WWE contracts to begin with, if I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. The sooner that they leave the WWE and they're on the unemployment line, the better wrestling will be. Asuka and Kairi Sane then eliminated Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville when Mandy tapped out to the Asuka lock. Then we came down to Bliss and Nikki Cross. Nikki Cross took out Asuka with the apron being pulled over Asuka, and Nikki Cross just unloading with forearms. Alexa Bliss caught Kairi Sane with a huge right hand, which looked to miss her completely, but Kairi Sane still sold it anyway. She had twisted Bliss and Cross are the new women's tag team champions. You know, I really feel bad. I really feel bad for Asuka and Kairi Sane. I really do. The fact that these two women have worked their asses off so much to the point where, you know, they pretty much deserve singles championship runs. If you ask me, Kairi Sane could be on Raw as the Raw Women's Champion, and Asuka could be on SmackDown as the SmackDown Live Women's Champion. But here they are in a tag team, and they lose to Bliss and Cross. Probably a tag team just as worthless, if not more worthless, than the Iconics. The women's tag team titles go from two of the worst women's wrestlers in the world to a makeshift tag team that is ultimately ruining a great character and a great wrestler in Nikki Cross, and a tag team that has one of those members being one of the most useless wrestlers in the entire world, in Alexa Bliss. Here's Alexa Bliss once again, gaining her 6th championship as a member of the WWE roster. Her 6th championship. Is Alexa Bliss really worth 6 championship reigns? Does the woman have any talent whatsoever outside of using her assets to get what she wants backstage? I'm going to make this perfectly clear. Now, obviously, the smart people already know this, but I'm going to reiterate it again. Alexa Bliss is not a draw. And that is a fact. Alexa Bliss is not a draw. If Alexa Bliss was a draw, then every single show that she would be booked on would be sold out, jam-packed to the rafters. And it's not. If Alexa Bliss was such a draw, then there would be millions and millions of people that would tune in to watch Alexa Bliss. Meanwhile, WWE can't even peak a 2.3 rating most of the time every week for Monday Night Raw. If Alexa Bliss was really a draw, then Alexa Bliss would garner people to watch the show, and she would garner ratings 3.5 million and up. If you really want to talk about a draw, because back during the Attitude Era, they had a lot of big draws, and the shows drew 4 million every week. But Alexa Bliss is a draw, right? Oh, she has a lot of merch sales. Merch sales don't mean jack shit. Merch sales are worth nothing. Merch sales don't mean anything. Merch sales are a small percentage of WWE's earnings. They weigh next to nothing. The majority of WWE's earnings comes from their sponsorships, their television deals, and their ticket sales. Alexa Bliss ain't drawing nothing. Oh, and just because she gets reactions, that don't mean jack shit either. She gets go-away heat most of the time. And you know what that means? That people legitimately don't want to see her on their television or in the ring wrestling at all. What a concept, you know? Just because someone gets a reaction don't mean jack shit. And if the WWE actually thinks that just because someone gets a reaction, that means they're doing something right, the WWE is run by a bunch of fucking idiots. And of course, we already knew this. Of course, this is not news to anyone. This is something that has been ingrained in our skulls, or at least the skulls of intelligent people, for God knows how long now. And I said this on the rundown for TakeOver Toronto yesterday. I guarantee you that this is the only taste of main roster gold that Nikki Cross gets as long as Vince McMahon is in power. I will bet all the money in my bank account. You want to make those titles prestigious? You put them on Asuka and Kairi Sane. Bliss and Nikki Cross are probably the second worst tag team that you could possibly put it on, outside of the Iconics. Bliss and Nikki Cross are going to do absolutely nothing. Nothing with those titles. And those titles are going to remain worthless pieces of trash, worth about as much as the shit that my dog took on my neighbor's lawn the other day. You either put the titles on Asuka or Kairi Sane, or get rid of them. Get the fuck rid of them. I don't know what else I could say about that. Then we had the contract signing between Ziggler and Miz, which resulted in Goldberg returning. Miz said that he can't wait to beat the hell out of Ziggler next Monday on Raw. And what happened? What happened? Miz said, the contract you signed wasn't for a match with me, it was for a match with somebody else. And then Shawn Michaels looked at Dolph and said, well, Dolph, it's not me. Goldberg came out, signed the contract, said, Dolph Ziggler, guess what, son, you're next. And that pretty much sums up Monday Night Raw for you. That sums up Monday Night Raw for you. It's probably been one of the most disorganized, one of the most lackluster, one of the most boring builds towards SummerSlam that I think I have ever seen. And I have been watching SummerSlam since 2008. 2008. This could very well be one of the worst SummerSlams since 2016 or 2017. 2016 and 2017 are my top 2 worst SummerSlams of all time. I think this could very well take the cake. Is Goldberg really worth another match on WWE television? Is Goldberg really worth a 3-minute match with Dolph Ziggler on SummerSlam? Well, with the fact that there's only going to be 10, 11 matches on SummerSlam, could this match end up going 15 fucking minutes? Do we really need to see Goldberg in the ring for 15 fucking minutes? Especially after that match at Super Showdown with The Undertaker? Swear to God, man. SmackDown Live. SmackDown Live was just as worse, if not worse, than Monday Night Raw. I don't think we had one good moment on this show whatsoever. I don't think we had one good moment on the show. Charlotte Flair, and apparently this was the 4th week in a row that Vince McMahon rewrote the show, and it was only 60% done by the time 750 came around, and mostly everyone was operating on the fly. This is supposed to be a $1 billion company. This is supposed to be a $1 billion company, and here you have the writers writing out shows well in advance, Vince McMahon ripping it up before SmackDown Live and rewriting the entire show 90 minutes before the show goes live on the USA Network. Fox is not going to stand for this shit. If this shit continues, Fox is going to cancel that deal like that. Guarantee it. Charlotte Flair kicked off the show, called out Trish Stratus for leaving, says that she's going to shatter Trish Stratus' dreams at SummerSlam. She goes to play a video package. She does a hand gesture to play a video package concerning her career moments, but Trish ended up flipping the script. Trish's video package ended up playing. Trish came out, and Trish basically said that she is going to have that one last moment under the bright lights, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. It was pretty much the same old formulaic, generic Trish Stratus, Charlotte Flair promo. Trish ended up slapping Charlotte Flair, and Charlotte Flair left. The segment did nothing for anyone. Segment was boring. Segment was generic. I don't know what else I can say. Again, that's all I can say at this rate. I legitimately don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say. I think that I've said everything that I could possibly say as far as how bad WWE really is. We were supposed to have Ziggler and Mysterio, but before the match, Ziggler took out Mysterio with a plethora of super kicks. Ziggler took the microphone and said that Goldberg's last match at SummerSlam, Goldberg's match at SummerSlam is going to be Goldberg's last match, and it's going to be an embarrassment. Pretty much Dolph Ziggler saying he's going to beat Goldberg, blah, blah, blah. Ali came out and went after Dolph, and Ziggler ended up defeating Mustafa Ali. You have Ziggler defeat Mustafa Ali when Ali pinned Nakamura last week. Ali pinned Nakamura last week. Meanwhile, this match isn't even set for SummerSlam. You're leaving the Intercontinental Championship off of SummerSlam, and you have Ali lose to Dolph Ziggler in 4 minutes, when Dolph Ziggler is ultimately going to get squashed by Goldberg at SummerSlam. Great job. Great job, WWE. Roman Reigns had an interview in which he apologized to Samoa Joe, and he said he was going to be looking for answers later on that night. Natalya versus Ember Moon. First of all, I don't even know why this match is even taking place. You're having challenger versus challenger when A, neither woman can lose before SummerSlam because they're going into marquee matches. 2, the fact that what you did with Natalya on Raw was enough to sell the matchup with Becky Lynch. 3, why is Ember Moon competing yet again when more than likely, and she's at the risk of taking another loss after she was pinned by Alexa Bliss last week and made to look like she was made to look like a bitch this week. She was made to look like Alexa Bliss's bitch last week and Natalya's bitch this week. The match ended in a double countout, which I don't really mind because neither woman actually took a loss, but Natalya put Ember Moon in the sharpshooter for God knows how long before Bayley came out to save Ember Moon. You have to have Bayley come out and save her SummerSlam challenger, pretty much killing the legitimacy of Ember Moon. This shit pisses me off. That shit pisses me off. You're killing the legitimacy of your division by having one person just completely dominate over one person. You're telling me that Natalya couldn't have done this with someone like Dana Brooke or Liv Morgan or Sarah Logan? You're telling me that she had to do it with a person who's going to be challenging for the SmackDown Live Women's Champion this Sunday in Toronto? You're telling me that you couldn't have picked anyone else besides Ember Moon? Anyone else besides Ember Moon? Bayley ended up making the save, and that was it. We moved on to the KO show with Shane McMahon. KO pretty much challenged Shane McMahon to put his career on the line. Shane McMahon said no. We had a brawl. Elias came out. He ended up taking a stunner from Kevin Owens. Shane McMahon flipped the table on Kevin Owens and then drop-kicked the chair into Kevin Owens, shouting, "Quitter, quitter, you're done, you're done. I'm going to be rid of you. That's what's going to happen. This is what you want. This is the fight you want. You're going to get it." Something along those lines. That was pretty much the KO show, and it was, again, another worthless, boring segment that didn't accomplish anything. I don't think they accomplished anything on main roster television this week other than a very good match with Andrade, Cien Almas, and Rey Mysterio. That's it. Sami Zayn addressed the crowd. He called out Aleister Black, saying that he hides in the dark and he hasn't even answered his SummerSlam challenge. Black ended up coming out and said that he is going to face Sami right now. So again, this is another match scrapped from SummerSlam. You're scrapping Aleister Black and Sami Zayn, which you could have given these two men 15 minutes at SummerSlam to kick off the show, and it would have resulted in a fantastic fucking match. I don't understand. I don't understand that. I really don't. Aleister Black defeated Sami Zayn within 6 minutes. It didn't even have a chance to pick up. It was just Sami Zayn beating Aleister Black down for the first 3 minutes, and then a 3-minute comeback by Aleister Black that resulted in a springboard moonsault, a sliding knee, a V-trigger, and a Black Mass. Sami Zayn is buried once again, this time by Aleister Black. I don't know what the fuck Sami Zayn did to deserve this, but the sooner that Sami Zayn can get out of his contract and the sooner Sami Zayn goes to Jacksonville, the better. It is so fucking disgusting to see a superstar like Sami Zayn, who has been treated so poorly since he came up to the main roster. He's been treated so poorly, and it legitimately breaks my heart. It legitimately breaks my heart to see this shit go down when we all know that Sami Zayn has the potential to be the face of the fucking company. I don't understand Vince McMahon's mentality, especially going into SummerSlam. You realize that they have 4 other shows to compete with. They have Royal Quest, they have UK TakeOver Cardiff, they have TakeOver Toronto, and they have All Out. I don't understand why you wouldn't want to load up SummerSlam to make it the best event possible of the month of August. Hell, even the best event possible of the entire year. I don't understand. I genuinely don't understand why. I don't even know where Aleister Black goes from here. Are they going to continue this feud, or is Aleister Black going to move on to someone else? I don't know. We're back to Shelton Benjamin and his awkward segments. I don't understand where this is going. I don't know what it's resulting in, but to be quite honest with you, I don't care. This isn't even a proper way to present a superstar like Shelton Benjamin. Shelton Benjamin is a legitimate athlete who you could build as a solid mid-carder, fighting guys like Nakamura, Balor, Ali, Apollo, for the IC title. Why wouldn't you want to build up Shelton Benjamin to be that guy? Why wouldn't you want to build up Shelton Benjamin to get a fucking world title run? We had the Firefly Funhouse. And Bray Wyatt was in his Mr. Rogers attire talking about how Finn Balor willingly called out The Fiend, and I love that. He said that we have hurt for so long, and now it's Balor's turn to hurt. He said that The Fiend is coming for Balor. The Fiend flashed up on the screen, and The Fiend said, "Let me in." So obviously, that match is probably one of the matches that I'm really much looking forward to going into SummerSlam. Gable and Elias had a segment. I don't understand what the fuck was the point of this segment. It was just Elias calling Chad Gable short, and that was pretty much it. Kofi Kingston had an interview backstage similar to the way that Randy Orton had an interview, and this interview was actually fantastic. I actually love the sense of realism that Kofi Kingston is taking, pretty much saying that, you know, he put so much heart and so much effort into becoming the guy that people want to look up to, becoming a hero, becoming the world champion. And a guy like Randy Orton is the type of guy that just wants to hold people down. And after I beat Randy Orton and hold the championship above my head, we're going to see who's the stupid one now, right? What Kofi Kingston and Randy Orton have been doing, building towards their matchup at SummerSlam, has been very, very good. I am very much looking forward to this match. If they really want to go all in with this match, I would say that this could be one of the best matches of the year. Kofi Kingston and Randy Orton, two men, the story pretty much writes itself. I feel as though they really do bring out the best in each other. Randy Orton is a great heel to that underdog babyface that is Kofi Kingston. You could really, you can see the polar opposites in Randy Orton and Kofi Kingston. You can see that underdog babyface aspect, that never say die attitude in Kofi Kingston. You can see the privileged, the cocky, the entitled prick that is Randy Orton. The Randy Orton that has been gifted an opportunity and pretty much achieved great success. Pretty much is one of the golden boys of WWE in the words of Kofi Kingston. In the main event, we had the New Day versus Bryan and Rowan. It was shaping up to be a decent tag team match, but that ended via DQ when Rowan and Bryan beat down the New Day with the steel steps. Roman was then shown in the back, beating down Murphy. Murphy said that he saw Rowan backstage during the scaffold production crate box attack, but he did not see Bryan. First of all, I don't understand why you would reveal another suspect by having someone like Buddy Murphy, who was actually there, and a guy who's supposed to be a legitimate superstar, a legitimate force to be reckoned with. I don't understand why you would have him look like a complete bitch, have him get beaten down by Roman, only to throw out another suspect, whether it's going to be Rowan or not. I don't understand why you reveal it after 2 weeks. I don't understand. You had the intrigue of the universe on Tuesday. You had intrigue of the universe on Monday. Who is attacking Roman? Now, if Rowan and Bryan are not the ones that did it, I don't know who else could have done it. But as far as Murphy is related, you don't do that to someone like Murphy. You don't make someone like Murphy, a guy who hasn't been seen on television in a televised match since Super Showdown. That has been the only match since he got drafted in the Superstar Shakeup to SmackDown. That has been the only match that he's been competing in on SmackDown. And now he has this segment with Roman Reigns where Roman Reigns pretty much beats the shit out of him and makes him look like a complete bitch. This man was putting on classics with everyone that you put him in the ring with. He was putting on classics with Ali, Cedric, Nice, Tozawa. The guy had a flawless fucking Cruiserweight Championship reign. He held the Cruiserweight title for nearly 200 days. And this is what it results in. This is what Buddy Murphy's career renaissance on 205 Live results in. Buddy Murphy getting beaten down by Roman Reigns, made to look like a bitch, and revealing that Rowan was backstage during the attack of Roman Reigns on SmackDown last week. I don't understand what the fuck the mentality is of this company with the rising stars, but they really need to do something. They really need to do something to improve their portrayal of superstars on these shows. Every single superstar is portrayed in such a weak fashion. And the superstars that are portrayed strong, there's always an exception that pretty much diminishes their credibility. Natalya, yes, she's being booked strong, but at the end of the day, how much is this really going to mean when she was pretty much treated like shit for the past number of years? Why is Ziggler getting a win over Ali, and why is he being made to look strong when he's been pretty much made into the biggest fucking loser in the WWE outside of Samoa Joe. There's always an exception. Probably one of the worst SmackDown Lives of the year. The most disorganized SmackDown Live of the year, without a shadow of a doubt. Moving on to a wrestling program where I can actually find joy in, 205 Live. This was a very good episode of 205 Live. We had a lot of good wrestling on the show. Humberto Carrillo and Lince Dorado. This match ended in a double countout. These two were going back and forth. We had a lot of fast-paced action in this. These two trading strike for strike. We had Dorado hit a rolling kick on Humberto. Later on in the match, they were set up in the corner, and Humberto hung Lince Dorado out to dry. When Lince was dangling on the top rope, Humberto did a drop kick, and Lince Dorado landed very awkwardly on the outside where he could have seriously gotten injured. I think he landed on his shoulder wrong. I'll have to go back and rewatch it. But then Humberto hit the Fosbury flop over the top. This ended up in a double countout when Lince Dorado tripped up Humberto just as Humberto was about to get back in the ring. Humberto was arguing with the referee that he was in the ring, but he wasn't, according to the referee. Humberto then did a tope con hero, taking out Lince and Gran Metalik. This was a very good match by the end of it. I'm actually very much looking forward to seeing another matchup between Lince Dorado and Humberto Carrillo down the line. Arya Daivari was shown in the back, talking to Lince Dorado, trying to get inside Lince Dorado's head. Arya Daivari saying that Lince Dorado could be the breakout star of Lucha House Party. He made a reference to Seth Rollins and how Seth Rollins broke away from the Shield, and Seth Rollins went on to achieve great success. He told him to ditch the dead weight of Lucha House Party. Obviously, Lince Dorado was not listening, but if that's the case, I really wouldn't mind Lince Dorado breaking off from Lucha House Party and becoming a single star. Lince Dorado is very underrated. Lince Dorado could be a huge force to be reckoned with in the WWE. If you want to, you can definitely turn Lince Dorado heel and make him a top heel in the Cruiserweight division, because the Cruiserweight division right now is in desperate need of a top heel, especially when Drew Gulak leaves. Drew Gulak is not going to be around forever. Unfortunately, I know that Drew Gulak is going to end up being the person that loses the title, and he's going to end up getting called up from 205 Live, whether that be to either Raw or SmackDown. If it was up to me, I would put him on SmackDown, since Fox Sports is going to be the sports show of the WWE. Main roster programming I'm talking about. We'll see how that plays out, but nevertheless, it's a very interesting concept to see Humberto Carrillo take out Lince Dorado and Gran Metalik, and Lince Dorado, a possible heel turn for him down the line, possibly breaking away from Lucha House Party. I am very much looking forward to seeing another matchup between Lince and Humberto down the line. We then had a 6-pack challenge. Oni Lorcan, Arya Daivari, Tony Nese, Kalisto, Jack Gallagher, and Akira Tozawa. This was a very fun 6-pack challenge, fast-paced action. Everyone was diving to the outside. Oni Lorcan was diving to the outside onto the public. We had Tony Nese diving to the outside with the Fosby flop. Kalisto did a tope con hero, but was caught by the pile. He was caught by everyone else, and they tossed him over the table. He actually missed the table and went sailing right into the barricade, which looked fucking brutal there. We had some innovative spots where we had Tony Nese get hung upside down. Jack Gallagher did a huge superplex to, who was it? I believe it was Kalisto. He did a huge superplex to Kalisto, and Tony Nese did a German suplex. Jack Gallagher was actually used as a launching pad when Tozawa did a cannonball off of Jack Gallagher, and he went sailing back first into Tony Nese, while Tony Nese was still in the Tree of Well position. I believe we were getting to the end of the match here. After the cannonball, Tony Nese was taken out momentarily, and Arya Daivari hit the Persian Lion Splash on Tozawa, and that got a close 2 count there. We then had Oni Lorcan come out of nowhere. I believe Oni Lorcan was in a position where he was getting back into the ring, and I believe Tony Nese, he hit the running Nese on someone. I forgot who it was. I think it might have been Arya Daivari. It might have been either Arya Daivari or Jack Gallagher, but he hit the running Nese, and as soon as he hit the running Nese, Oni Lorcan slid back into the ring, and he hit the half and half suplex, pinned Tony Nese rather, and Oni Lorcan is going on to SummerSlam, to face off against Drew Gulak for the Cruiserweight Championship. Now here's the deal. I am a fan of Oni Lorcan. I'm a big fan of Drew Gulak, and this realistically is the biggest match that you can do for SummerSlam. However, Oni Lorcan doesn't really have that much momentum behind him. Outside of this 6-pack challenge win, he's only defeated Arya Daivari in the Anything Goes match, and he won a jobber match not that long ago on 205 Live. Outside of that, he hasn't really had that much momentum behind him. Realistically speaking, Oni Lorcan is the proper man to take the title off of Drew Gulak. But right now, Drew Gulak is not in a position where he can lose. I don't think that after all of this time, they're going to make Drew Gulak a transitional champion. I don't think Drew Gulak is worth a transitional championship run, Drew Gulak has worked for 3 years to get this opportunity, and I don't think that Adam Pearce is going to go forth and take the title off of Drew Gulak after only 2 months. But if Oni Lorcan loses here, they're going to have to build up Oni Lorcan. They're going to have to rebuild and repackage Oni Lorcan to a point where Oni Lorcan is once again legitimate enough to face off against Drew Gulak, because Oni Lorcan realistically is the right man to take the title off of Gulak. And then after Oni, it's Gable's turn. I don't understand why Humberto Carrillo wasn't in this match. I mean, hell, Humberto pinned Gulak at the end of April. I don't understand why Humberto isn't in this match when Humberto realistically has the most momentum behind him. The man hasn't been pinned in 5 months. The man has not been pinned in 5 months. He's gotten victories over Gallagher. He's gotten victories over Drew Gulak. He's gotten a victory in the Fatal 4-Way. He got the victory in the Fatal 4-Way back in the United Kingdom. He got the victory in the tag team match alongside Raul Mendoza against the Lucha House Party. Humberto Carrillo is a nice interim opponent. He's expendable right now. I don't understand why they didn't put Humberto in there, and Humberto has all this momentum behind him, and it's not resulting in a Cruiserweight Championship match. Don't get me wrong. I know that Oni Lorcan and Drew Gulak are going to tear the fucking house down. I know that match is going to be intense as ever. But at the end of the day, Humberto being placed as an interim opponent for Gulak, and Oni Lorcan continuing to gain momentum going into the fall, and Oni Lorcan taking the title off of Gulak in the fall would have been the best possible route to go. If Oni Lorcan is going to take the loss here, which more than likely he is, then they're going to have to work as hard as possible to regain Oni Lorcan's legitimacy and momentum. I just didn't think that they were going to go ahead with Oni Lorcan and Drew Gulak at SummerSlam because it was too soon. Humberto would have been the best decision because, like I said, he's expendable, he has the most momentum behind him, and he's a good interim opponent for Gulak. He can take a loss, and Oni Lorcan is going to continue to gain momentum, obviously leading up to the fall, where eventually he'll take the title off of Gulak, unless they want to go ahead with Humberto and have Humberto take the title off of Gulak in the fall. I don't know. We're going to have to see how that plays out. Regardless, I'm very much looking forward to Oni Lorcan and Drew Gulak at SummerSlam. Very good matchup on 205 Live with the 6-pack challenge and Humberto and Lindsay. Very good episode of 205 Live. Adam Pearce doing a very nice job at keeping the consistency on 205 Live going. NXT UK. I would say that this match did what it needed to do to continue building towards the UK TakeOver Cardiff show. There wasn't really much to talk about on the show outside of the fact that we had a decent matchup between Noam Dar and Ashton Smith, and the grizzled young veterans addressed the crowd, and we could very well see a triple threat tag team match for the NXT UK tag team titles at Cardiff. Noam Dar and Ashton Smith, like I said, we had a decent match between those two. Ashton Smith ended up gaining some momentum and fighting back against Noam Dar. I love Ashton Smith's super kicks. Ashton Smith's super kicks is something lethal. It really is something lethal. If you have not seen Ashton Smith's super kicks, it is fucking deadly. And the pop that you hear when he hits that super kick is cringeworthy. It's very cringeworthy. He hit a super kick on Noam Dar towards the end of this match. He went for the leg lariat on Noam Dar, but Noam Dar ended up moving out of the way. He hit the Nova Roller, and then afterwards he said that he is going to be at UK TakeOver Cardiff. And later on, we actually got a teaser as to who his opponent might be. The grizzled young veterans came out to address the crowd. Gallus interrupted and said that they are not waiting, they are not asking, they are not vying, they are taking their NXT UK Tag Team title opportunity. Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster, the Welshman, came out and they said that they're going to be damned if they're going to miss out on their hometown show, UK TakeOver Cardiff. Zach Gibson says that, what have you two done around here? At least Gallus actually has some momentum behind them. Gibson says that at the end of the day, Johnny Saint makes the matches. And afterwards, he said that the song is going to remain the same. The NXT UK Tag Team titles are going to remain grizzled. Afterwards, we had Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster going into Johnny Saint's office, and Johnny Saint arranged a matchup between Mark Coffey and Flash Morgan Webster, because since Mark Andrews has already been winning matches, Flash Morgan Webster needs to gain some momentum of his own. Therefore, Flash Morgan Webster will face Mark Coffey, and if they can prove themselves in the next few weeks, then they will get a tag team title opportunity at Cardiff. Travis Banks called out Noam Dar. He said that Noam Dar is great, but at the end of the day, he doesn't work as hard as I do. So obviously, Travis Banks is throwing in a little teaser that him and Noam Dar could be on a collision course for NXT TakeOver Cardiff. Jazzy Gabbard and Ginny defeated Xia Brookside and Piper Niven. Rhea Ripley actually came out and she brawled with Piper Niven to the back. I'm assuming that we're going to get Rhea Ripley and Piper Niven one more time at UK TakeOver Cardiff. Xia Brookside had to fight off both women. She hit the broken wings, the double knees in the corner, but it only resulted in a 2 count on Ginny. Jazzy Gabbard got the tag, hit the clothesline and the Dominator, and Jazzy Gabbard and Ginny walked out victorious. Next week, we also got Ilya Dragunov versus Cassius Ohno. Interesting to see how that match plays out. In the end, Joe Coffey and Dave Mastiff ended up ending in a double countout. These two, they were brawling all over the ringside area. We had Joe Coffey actually expose the middle turnbuckle and send Dave Mastiff back first into the turnbuckle. Dave Mastiff ended up hitting a shot that caught Joe Coffey right in the ear that it looked like it could have bursted his eardrum. Those two ended up fighting on the outside, which resulted in a double countout, and officials and Gallus came out to hold the two back as Mastiff and Joe Coffey tried to get at one another. So maybe we could very well see a no disqualification match with Mastiff and Coffey at UK TakeOver Cardiff, which I definitely wouldn't mind. I am very much looking forward to seeing what they do with Joe Coffey and Dave Mastiff going into NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff. Decent episode of NXT UK, nothing really too special. Obviously, they're continuing to build towards the matchups at UK TakeOver Cardiff, which I'm very much looking forward to. NXT. This wasn't really much of an NXT episode. A lot of the episode was taken up by a lot of video packages, hyping up the matches at NXT TakeOver Toronto 2. William Regal kicked off the show with a contract signing between the Street Profits and the Undisputed Era. Now, obviously, Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins cracking jokes, calling Kyle O'Reilly Auto Parts. You got the crowd to chant Auto Parts. Obviously, the Street Profits joking got under the Undisputed Era's skin. Undisputed Era jokes back. And the Street Profits actually got serious and said that there's only one option for them to win. And at NXT UK TakeOver Toronto, we're going to beat that ass. So, it's definitely going to be a matchup worthy of Match of the Year candidate, if they really want to go all in on it. I think that the Street Profits and the Undisputed Era are going to absolutely tear the fucking house down. We had a few video packages here and there, and then we had a decent matchup between Shane Thorne and Joaquin Wilde, formerly known as DJZ. Shane Thorne was able to hold off the threat of Joaquin Wilde at the beginning of the matchup with a huge brainbuster. Joaquin Wilde ended up hitting a wormhole suicide dive through the post, which actually looked pretty dope. And then he hit a Tope Con Hero, taking out Shane Thorne. Shane Thorne unleashed his aggression on Joaquin Wilde, threw him into the ring, and then threw him into the steps, threw him back into the ring, and hit a huge V-trigger knee strike, which ended in a victory for Shane Thorne. So interested to see where Shane Thorne goes. Maybe him facing off for the North American Championship in the near future. I wouldn't mind that. I definitely wouldn't mind that. But regardless, decent matchup. Shane Thorne gaining some momentum. Killian Dane actually took out Matt Riddle before their matchup even started. The matchup did not even get underway as Killian Dane attacked Matt Riddle out of nowhere, coming through the crowd and cross-bodying Matt Riddle and then hitting a cannonball to Matt Riddle right into the steel steps. So, interested to see where this leads to between Killian Dane and Matt Riddle. Apparently, they scheduled the Breakout Tournament Finals for next week. I don't really like that. I don't really like that because in my eyes, it really takes away the importance, if you know what I mean. It takes away the importance of the overall tournament as a whole. Why not put it on TakeOver? At least give them 12 to 13 minutes and have them put on a great match. I mean, I feel as though if you give these men opportunity, I feel as though they could really shine. I feel as though they could really open a lot of eyes. And it would really boost the sense of importance. Now, it's going to be on the pre-show, so the crowd there is going to see it, and we're ultimately going to end up getting it on the following episode of NXT, but at the end of the day, you know, I don't know, something about it just doesn't come off as right to me. I mean, I get the standard 5-match setup, but this is one of the biggest weekends of the year. Why wouldn't you want to go all out and put 6 matches on the card? Next week, we also got Breezango versus the Forgotten Sons. And then to cap off NXT, we had a fantastic promo between Johnny Gargano and Adam Cole. I am very much looking forward to this 3 Stages of Hell match. We still do not know what the third fall is going to be. Whatever the third fall is going to be, I'm pretty sure that Triple H is going to absolutely put every single last bit of effort into this match, and we could very well be on the verge of Match of the Year. I think that this match, this 2 out of 3 Falls match, could end up topping their 2 out of 3 Falls matchup at NXT TakeOver New York. Nothing really too special on NXT, just a lot of video packages. We're going to see how NXT TakeOver Toronto 2 plays out, which I know it is going to absolutely kill it. NXT always does. Moving on to the news, rumors, and reports. I actually got a lot to talk about, so strap in. Now, kicking off the news, rumors, and reports section of the Lightning Flash Update is a report from Mike Johnson of PW Insider, and he reported that Pat Buck has joined the WWE as a producer. Now, Pat Buck recently did a guest coaching gig at the WWE Performance Center. he was also given a producer tryout as well. He appeared on Monday's episode of Raw, arriving at the scene as one of the men to check on Roman Reigns following the hit-and-run incident. Now, if you don't know who Pat Buck is the owner of WrestlePro, which will reportedly continue their normal schedule with Kevin Matthews becoming the point man of the promotion. And along with running WrestlePro, Buck also works as a trainer at Create a Pro Wrestling Academy alongside former Raw Tag Team Champion Kurt Hawkins. Now, I reported this because Pat Buck is the owner of WrestlePro, and WrestlePro is the wrestling company that sponsors Crowbar's Rescue Mania events. And I just found that to be pretty cool. So, I've actually seen Pat Buck wrestle. I've seen Pat Buck wrestle at the Rescue Mania events. He's got this chainsaw-wielding gimmick going on at the Rescue Mania events, and more likely than not, he's probably not going to be seen at the Rescue Mania events anymore. If that's the case, then you know something, I wish Pat Buck the best of luck as a producer in the WWE, and I genuinely hope he achieves great success. Pat Buck, he's one of the people that has a good hand in helping Crowbar. So, you know for a fact that if those shows are great, then he's going to do whatever he can to make the WWE great. Who knows, maybe he could even be a producer when SmackDown Live hits Fox Sports in October. But best of luck to Pat Buck. My next report comes from Dave Meltzer, and he reported on the Wrestling Observer Radio that the WWE is attempting, quote-unquote, attempting to do something with Andrade, adding that people in power are behind him. You know something? I damn sure hope so, because I've been hearing all of these reports for a while now that, Vince is high on Andrade. They want to do something with Andrade. They want to push Andrade. If that's the case, then fucking push him. If that's the case, then push him. If you're asking me, I wouldn't mind seeing Andrade in a Universal title program against Seth Rollins after SummerSlam. Why don't you do that? Why don't you draft Andrade to Monday Night Raw, and we can get programs with Ricochet and Styles and Rollins and plenty, plenty more. I wouldn't mind that whatsoever. I've heard this time and time and again, but at the end of the day, it's like a stop and start push agenda for Andrade. 1 week he's pushed, another week he's off television. 1 week he's losing in 2 minutes to Apollo Crews. The next week he's beating Rey Mysterio in a classic. It's like WWE can't seem to make up their mind with Andrade. I don't know what they're doing with Andrade, but I genuinely hope that they have something big planned for Andrade, because Andrade has been on the main roster for far too long, and he's been floating around doing a lot of nothing for far too long. We know how good Andrade is. We've seen Andrade and the classics that he put on in NXT with Gargano and McIntyre and Black and many, many more. You can't keep on delaying this man. You can't. It's the same thing with Ember Moon. You can't keep on delaying him. At this rate, Ember Moon and Andrade are on the road to being the next Sami Zayn, because they've been on the main roster for God knows how long, and they still haven't won a championship. So I hope this report is true. I hope they do something big with Andrade. I hope they have good, solid plans for Andrade. Speaking of plans, one thing that does not have plans and never had long-term plans is, surprise, surprise, the women's tag team titles. According to Tom Colohue of Sportskeeda, Vince McMahon did not have any long-term plans for the women's tag team titles. He states, and I quote, "Vince didn't want women's tag titles. He was under a lot of pressure, so he brought them in early without thinking about it. There was no plan. We still don't know if there's any plans." Am I surprised by this report? No. Did I even need to report this report? No. Do I even need to talk about this report? No. I don't. This is not new. Seriously, I mean, we have already realized that Vince McMahon never had any legitimate plans for the women's tag team titles. Vince McMahon was under pressure, so he decided to bring them about just for the sake of bringing them about. You don't bring about something just for the sake of bringing about something. If the fans want something and you decide to go forth with it, you need to develop a solid, legitimate plan for whatever it is that you're bringing about, whether it's what the fans want or whether it's what you want. You need to develop a solid, long-term plan for whatever you're bringing about. Hell, this isn't even the tip of the iceberg if we're talking about long-term planning. No one has long-term planning. For fuck's sake, I mean, Vince McMahon has rewritten SmackDown Live hours before the show for 4 straight weeks now, coming out of Extreme Rules. There is no long-term planning. There's no long-term planning whatsoever. Vince McMahon has the mentality of a fucking child where he changes his mind every single bit. But yet, there's people that want to claim that the fans don't know what we want. No. That is a lame-ass excuse. People are claiming that the fans don't know what we want, claiming that the fans will turn on anyone. No, that is not the case. In reality, Vince McMahon doesn't know what he wants, since he's changing his mind on the fly each and every single fucking week. And it is not the fans' fault that they turn on a match, or they turn on a superstar, or they turn on a title. It's not the fans' fault. People who blame the fans and say that the fans are the reason why superstars are in bad positions and the fans turn on everyone is a fucking idiot. Anyone who uses that excuse is a fucking idiot. The WWE is at fault when it comes to fans turning on a feud, a match, a superstar, a title picture, whatever it may be. The WWE is at fault because the WWE does not know how to book something good. Main roster-wise specifically, because Vince McMahon is constantly changing his mind here and there, that, it comes off as disorganized, it comes off as rushed, it doesn't come off as natural. He didn't even want women's tag team titles, and he just brought them about just to bring them about. You don't fucking do that. You don't bring something about for the sake of bringing it about. You don't bring something in. You don't go forth with something. You don't put effort into something without plans. You need a long-term plan. Again, this is the type of shit that Fox Sports is not going to put up with. They are not going to put up with the disorganization. They are not going to put up with the fact that there's no long-term plans. They are not going to put up with the bullshit. The women's tag team titles, if Vince McMahon didn't have any plans for them, then he shouldn't have instituted them to begin with. No matter how many people clamored for them, if Vince did not have solid plans for the women's tag team titles and a solid women's tag team division, then he shouldn't have brought them in. And at this rate, if I'm a betting man, I would say that there still isn't any plans for the women's tag team titles as far as the following months go. There still isn't any plans. You have Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss as the champions. The only reason why they put the titles on Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross is because WWE can't seem to get over their obsession with their precious little Bliss. WWE can't seem to get over their obsession with pushing women who look like supermodels and porn stars. WWE can't seem to get over their obsession with pushing blonde women who look like they just stepped out of fucking Playboy magazine with perky breasts and a small waist and long legs, no matter how short Alexa Bliss may be. Alexa Bliss is probably the one person that they have the most obsession with. The other one is probably Charlotte Flair. Half of the reason why Charlotte is in the position that she's in is because of her looks. The other half is because of her last name being Flair. And then another one is obviously Lacey Evans. If Lacey Evans did not look the way that she looked, if she did not have big breasts, if she did not have long legs, if she did not have a nice figure, small waist, blonde hair, and a beautiful face, if Lacey Evans did not look that way, if Lacey Evans looked like Ember Moon, if Lacey Evans looked like Asuka or Kairi Sane or Sasha Banks, If Lacey Evans looked like that, then the WWE would have never pushed her. She was pushed into 3 Raw Women's Championship matches over the course of 2 months after basically doing nothing during the course of WrestleMania season but doing a catwalk out to the ramp and waving and then walking right back before she even got to the ring. If I'm a betting man, Vince McMahon doesn't have any plans for the women's tag team titles, and he's just playing them by ear. More likely than not, I would not even be surprised if they get rid of the women's tag team titles at the end of the year. I wouldn't even be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. And yet you wonder why Sasha Banks is not coming back. Moving on. WWE is apparently advertising Kane. Yes, you heard me correctly. Kane. WWE is advertising Kane for live events in Bossier City and Lafayette, Louisiana on August 23rd and 24th, respectively. During those shows, Braun Strowman is slated to be Kane's opponent. I don't know what's going on there, but I am praying to whatever God exists in this world. I'm praying to God that Kane is not coming back. If Kane comes back, it is only going to make the product worse. Someone like Kane is not needed, especially going up against someone like Braun Strowman. How many times have we seen that? I think we've had enough of Kane in the Last Man Standing match that he had with Braun Strowman back in 2018. I think we had enough of Kane during the WrestleMania 34 Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. I think we had enough of Kane at Crown Jewel during that horrendous tag team match with DX and The Undertaker. We don't need Kane. And, they don't even know what to do with Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman isn't even slated to have a match at SummerSlam after he beat Bobby Lashley at Extreme Rules. So, at this rate, if they do Braun Strowman and Kane just for the sake of doing it, I swear to God, it is only going to bring the show down. The show, honestly, cannot sink any lower than it already has sunk. But considering that Kane is currently scheduled for live events, I wouldn't even be surprised. If Kane is brought back to television just for the sake of bringing him back and feuding him with Braun Strowman. I wouldn't even be surprised. If that happens, more likely than not, the WWE could very well end up sinking lower than they already are. They really could. Moving on. Voices of Wrestling reported that Sananda is a free agent again, and there are rumors that he may end up in WWE. The article states, and I quote, "Free agent, period. And the WWE ramblings are happening again. If I were New Japan, I'd attempt to lock him up. 3 straight sellouts versus Okada, and regardless of what anyone might think of his work, he has an obvious crowd connection and superstar upside." Now, Sananda is, of course, a former IWGP Tag Team Champion and a former Neverweight Open 6-man Tag Team Champion, so obviously we know how good Sananda is. I'm not too familiar with him. I don't think I have seen any of his matches, but I know of him and I know of his work. If he is to end up in NXT, more than likely he could end up following the Kushida route, and he could end up fighting a couple people, gaining some momentum. We could end up seeing a tag team with Kushida. I actually wouldn't mind a tag team with Kushida, to be quite honest with you. Kushida and Sananda, they really do need some tag teams in NXT, so I really wouldn't mind that, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. We're going to see what happens there with Sananda. My next report comes from Brad Shepard, and he reports that the current plan for WWE's new SmackDown live set is to feature a return of the SmackDown Fist. He states, "As I previously reported, a new set with an Attitude Era feel is coming to WWE SmackDown Live on Fox. I'm told the plan is for the new set to feature the return of the SmackDown Fist. The Fist is currently ready for use and in storage. Now, I would not mind this. I really wouldn't mind this. I would not mind this in the sense of it would really give a sense of freshness. It would really give a sense of change, because the WWE right now is in desperate need of some change. And I was discussing this with Tyson a lot. WWE needs a legitimate reset, a legitimate fresh start. And I'm not talking about where they say it's going to be a fresh start and they end up going back on the word. I don't mean that we need a shake-up. I don't mean that we need new superstars on different brands. I don't mean that. They need a complete reset after SummerSlam, as in they need to lock down the sports-like feel. They need to get rid of the sports entertainment aspect. They need to start focusing on wins and losses. They need to start building storylines with intensity, with realism, with a sense of focus and purpose. They need to start putting the superstars out there in ways in which they will get over. They need to put superstars out there in ways where they will feel legitimate. I don't mind having a new set, but ultimately a new set is not going to result in much change. A lot of people have said to me, and I have heard a lot of people say, that when WWE did the original draft back in 2016, the original revamped draft back in 2016, and you had exclusive rosters on Raw and SmackDown. Raw had its own set, SmackDown had its own set. They had two different sets. And after a while, Raw became the same shit that we had been seeing throughout the course of 2016. It's terrible. SmackDown Live, when Jinder Mahal originally won the WWE Championship, became jack shit. And it didn't really matter because the new set feel wore off. It doesn't matter if they bring back the SmackDown Fist, because at the end of the day, if they do not focus, if they do not bring a sense of legitimacy, and they do not bring a sense of realism and a sports-like feel, because that is what wrestling is all about nowadays, if they do not bring that about in the WWE, especially on SmackDown, when they move to Fox Sports, then, you know, it's really not going to make much of a difference whether they have the SmackDown Fist or not. I mean, that's just me being brutally honest there. We're going to see how that plays out. I wouldn't mind the return of the SmackDown Fist, but at the end of the day, they do need to bring about a genuine sports-like feel, a sense of realism, purpose, ranking system, whatever it may be. AEW is going to be doing that. AEW has their mind set, and they have everything set down to a T. They are planning well ahead. They got shows set in Washington, they got shows set in Boston and Philadelphia. They're building up the AEW debut show, AEW Revolution on TNT. They're building that up as possibly the biggest debut in wrestling history. The biggest debut television show in wrestling history. They're building up. We got a 6-man tag team match with the Young Bucks and Omega taking on Jericho and two partners of his choosing, which more than likely could very well be LAX. We have Cody taking on Sammy Guevara. We have an AEW Women's Championship match being scheduled for the event. More likely than not, it's going to be Bea Priestley versus Britt Baker at All Out, and then the winner of that match will face the winner of the Casino Battle Royal. And the Casino Battle Royal is for the women now. So the winner of the Casino Battle Royal will most likely face the winner of Bea Priestley versus Britt Baker, and it could very well be Kylie Ray winning the Battle Royal and Bea Priestley defeating Britt Baker. And we're going to get Kylie Ray and Bea Priestley at AEW Revolution, the debut episode on TNT for the Women's Championship. And more than likely, the tag team tournament could very well start on that day too. Never know. You never know. But regardless, that is what the WWE needs to do. We're going to see how they change, if they change, after SummerSlam. My next report comes from PW Insider, and this is my final report. PW Insider reports that WWE has moved the date of their next Saudi Arabian show. Crown Jewel 2019 is taking place on Halloween, on October 31st. PW Insider states, and I quote, "As of the first week of October, the brand will start their loop with a live Friday broadcast on Fox. They will have live events on Saturdays and Sundays, with the exception being Sundays when there are pay-per-view broadcasts, obviously." So we have Crown Jewel 2019 set on October 31st, and to be quite honest with you, they really need to up their game when you're talking about the Saudi Arabian shows. The best one had been the first one. The best one was the first one, obviously. I don't really care about the Saudi Arabian shows. I only really review them for content, but at the end of the day, they're going to have to. They're going to have to really up their standards. They're going to have to up their standards, and whether the crowd is into it or not, they are going to have to really book the Saudi Arabian shows just as they're booking their pay-per-views, with a sense of purpose, a sense of legitimacy. Like I said, the sports-like feel, the sense of realism, ranking system, whatever the hell you want to do. They need to focus specifically on that. And that's all I can really say about the Saudi Arabian broadcast and the Saudi Arabian show. I think we pretty much are all in agreement that the shows are going to be terrible regardless, because WWE just doesn't care, and they pretty much see it as a throwaway show. Just like Super Showdown earlier this year in Saudi Arabia. Pretty much a throwaway show. But regardless, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up this edition of the Lightning Flash Update. I would like to thank each and every single one of you who tuned into this video. Do not forget to follow me on Instagram at TheDJStorms. Follow me on Twitter at Man of Infamy. I want you guys to hit that thumbs up. We're trying to get this video to 15 thumbs up. Do not give me a thumbs down, or else I will give you a big fuck you. I also want you guys to go comment down below. What do you think of the news, rumors, and reports? What was your favorite show this week for WWE programming? I want you to hit that subscribe button. We are on the road toward 1,400 subscribers. We're going to try and get to 1,400 subscribers before SmackDown Live comes to Fox. I would say that's reasonable. I also want you guys to hit that notifications bell with a huge coup de grace. That way you will know whenever I pop up on YouTube. Because whenever I pop up on YouTube, it's the best time to be on YouTube. I also want you guys to go and check out the rundown for NXT TakeOver Toronto 2 with Chrissy. It is down below in the description. Go and check out the rundown for SummerSlam. I will post that tomorrow. The rewind for NXT TakeOver Toronto 2 will be up on Sunday before SummerSlam. I will also have the rewind for SummerSlam up on Monday, and then that Friday is going to be the Lightning Flash update with Earl Cole. After that, I am going to be on vacation. I'm going down to Long Beach Island, so do not disturb. I'm going to be on vacation, and I will not be doing a Lightning Flash update that week, but I will be back the following week with the rundown for All Out, the rundown for NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff, and of course the Lightning Flash update as always. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm the one and only DJ Storms. This has been the Lightning Flash update. You guys have a phenomenal weekend. And enjoy SummerSlam, or at least try to. I know we're all going to enjoy NXT TakeOver, but try to enjoy SummerSlam. Peace out.